What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good morning and welcome to the Shred Show Live. You see her smiling face. You're as excited as I am to be having Pam Faulkner of SimpleNexus joining me again. Yes, we've had her on the show before. It's been far too long, but I'm so excited. She's coming from Arkansas, ladies and gentlemen, this morning. I'm so excited to have her on the show. She's always full of energy. She's full of so much goodness that it just makes me happy when I have Pam on the show. But we're talking about something that is not often talked about, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about the unsung heroes, the settlement agents of the mortgage and real estate industry. Without them, we couldn't do what we do. So, ladies and gentlemen, volume up. If you have a settlement agent that you want to tag in this, do it below. We'd love to hear them. We want to give them a shout out. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to shred with the settlement heroes of the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, it's truly an honor, and I'm so humbled to have Pam joining us again on the show. Pam, what is up? Good morning and welcome.
Oh, Josh, it's so good to be back. What is going on?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy right now, right?
Yeah. Business is booming.
Business is booming, and SimpleNexus in particular. You guys continue to push the envelope, continue to be pioneers, and we're going to be talking a lot about that from settlement. That's exactly, we're so big, and SimpleNexus is so big on the home buying journey, from application, using this beautiful device, taking applications, working with our clients, working with realtors, and the whole ecosystem that you've created, being able to create this seamless experience. But sometimes, Pam, we forget about the settlement. We forget about those settlement agents who do so much on the back end of the transaction. Without them, mortgages wouldn't close.
I like to equate the settlement agent with like the counselor. So, you go through that home buyer process and everything you're doing, you've got a loan officer guiding you, then you get to the processor, the loan officer assistant, you get all the way to closing and everybody's going, yay, we're done. No, you're not really done. You've got to get to that settlement agent, and who's going to be there to comfort, to console them? It's your settlement agent. I learned early on, I'm going to give a shout out here. I told you this earlier. Max Bonds, Pam, Kathy, Sharon Stetler, Donna Stinnett in Little Rock, Arkansas. Early in my career, these folks absolutely taught me the value of being a settlement agent and what all they do and what goes into it. And that whole thing of explaining, comforting, getting the signature done, making sure it's right, and getting it back.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you gave a shout out, because I wanted to. Jamie Copier, Monica DeGray, those were some of the settlement agents in my life as I was closing mortgages. I remember, I remember my first closing in particular, like one of those first closings. If I didn't have a settlement agent there, they were explaining so much of hey, this is it. Like, this is amortization. That's when I was still learning amortization. Like what the heck's going on here? Like, there were so many things that they were so brilliant with, and they simplified it. They really shared the details. Again, we talk about the mortgage transaction as being one of the biggest financial decisions we're ever going to make. We talk about the loan officer, we talk about the realtor, we talk about this, we talk about the appraisal. But when it comes to settlement, the details, the final, the I's getting dotted, the T's being crossed, there are so many critical details that are we just overlook, and we're like, oh, well, it just happens, no big deal. But it is a big deal. And these people, again, these settlement agents are doing a phenomenal job. And what SimpleNexus has now done is that SimpleNexus recognizes that, hey, they are a critical piece. So now they're bringing them into that ecosystem as well, right?
We designed a whole closing portal around settlement agents. I mean, just knowing that the company here thought of them as an integral part of what they were accomplishing and how they're tied to this homeownership journey. They have a closing portal. And Josh, remember the days when closing meant you went face to face, you sat down, you got writer's cramp, signing your life away.
So true.
But think of it now with SimpleNexus's portal and all these laws changing. Settlement agents actually have the opportunity to take advantage of hybrid e-closing, remote online notary. So lots of things they can do. Communications, get the documents back sooner.
Well, and that's a big thing. Again, we talk about or transaction speed is a big thing these days. And now the Ron, which we're going to be talking about here in a
Yeah,
second, the remote online closings that are happening right now, it's it is becoming quicker, but it needs to be again. The settlement
yeah,
agents work with so many lenders, and think about this, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a broker, banker, whatever, brokers in particular, they're working with so many different lenders, having so many different options. Settlement agents are working with multiple different banks. They're working with dozens, if not hundreds, of loan officers at one time. So being able to like have a place where they can really efficiently like, okay, you know what? Let's bring it all to one place. You can be able to do what they need to do instead of like, oh, I got to go here, got to go this way, got to go this way. There's so many directions they get pulled into, and it's like, whoa, that's a lot. And we don't think about that often.
and I think about it too, by the time that the settlement agent gets into that closing portal, the lender's already been utilizing the SimpleNexus platform to determine, is this a traditional wet sign closing? Is this a hybrid e-closing? Is this a RON?
Right.
But so that settlement agent, they're not having to sit and fully think about it. They're following their tasks, and they have a little bit more time to actually review the documents, download them, let the borrower review them if they wish, work with that lender. But one login, one portal, one sign on. How cool is that?
That's amazing. Every settlement agent is probably like, finally, the day has finally come where I don't have to go here. I don't have to go here. It's just like one place, one login. Like again. That's why it's so cool, because SimpleNexus has taken the entire home buying journey and they've
Yeah,
brought it to that one place. Again, we so frequently talk about application, we talk about appraisal, we talk about this and that. We don't talk about settlement, but now having a place where settlement, those agents can come, they have that one login. And again, it's that consistency. They're going to become more and more efficient because they don't have to log into the different places now. It's all one place. It's all under one roof. And it's like, okay, here we go. Let's get even, like you said, faster transaction speeds, faster everything. And something you mentioned, let's talk about Ron for just a second, remote online notary. How is this really changing the settlement process as well?
Well, not every loan is RON eligible. It's going to
Oh.
be depicted or dependent on several factors. One of those could be number one, does your state even allow RON? We've
Hmm.
heard that back and forth. People going, my state, they've not approved it. It's getting fewer and fewer far between where, states are now opening up, they're accepting it. But then you also have to look at it too, is my investor going to buy it? So
Hmm.
lenders have got a hard choice to make there as well too when it comes to RON, how they're going to offer it. But once they make that decision, the settlement agent has it a little bit easier to actually, navigate those waters.
Well, and that's just it. It's becoming more adopted, especially with COVID, with the pandemic. We
Oh yeah.
clearly saw that the process needed to be updated. Here's the thing too, Pam, is most people don't know that, online notaries, online closings have actually been around for years and years and years.
Yeah.
They're just becoming like more mainstream. The mortgage industry in particular is so slow to adopt certain things, but
Yeah.
because of the pandemic, Ron and e-closings, things like that are becoming more and more prevalent. And it really has been. I mean, SimpleNexus being at the forefront, it's been crazy, even over 2020, to see how fast things have evolved. Like, hey, we need to adopt some of these new practices, right?
Yeah, and that is something because before that, you saw lots of, different financial industries, they accepted remote online,
Yeah.
or online signing period. But when you got to mortgage, I mean, you've got what, 35, 50, so many documents in a package, and there's so much to cross off and dot the I's and make sure you are who you are, make sure that you've got the right documents. It's just a checks and a balance that's extremely laborious.
Yeah, it is laborious, and again, that's why the settlement process in particular is like there's so many things that a settlement agent they have to verify, they have to
Yeah.
make sure that is correct. And now again, with SimpleNexus within the ecosystem, with everything that you're bringing inside of it, that process is becoming more efficient. It's becoming more accurate. Which this is one question that I have, Pam. Is mortgage fraud going to become a thing of the past? Is it still possible to cheat some of these systems, or like is it so secure where it's getting to like it's not even possible anymore?
Josh, I would love to tell you that as technology has become advanced more and more every single year, that, fraud is going to eventually evaporate. Where there's a will, there will always be a way.
Always a way.
There's
Always.
always a way. It will find its way in. But I think that companies are getting more involved and really troubleshooting how we can advance that. I mean, look at all of our vendors out there, all of our loan origination systems, all of our compliance programs. I mean, it is much better than, say, 10 years ago. I mean,
Oh,
it's getting there, but there's always going to be that one small chance.
there's always going to be a small chance. And
Yeah.
Dana Delphi just commented, we are doing our first e-closing with SimpleNexus today. There we go. Dana, thank you so much for sharing. That's phenomenal news. But great example from Dana there is like companies are still, this is still being adopted. There is still some growth. There's some opportunity to continue to see this being adopted within the ecosystem of even our industry. Pam, do you think this is going to, do we have a date in mind where, will it ever just be all e-closing? Will we ever sign documents in the future? Is that going to be a thing of the past? What do you think?
I honestly think eventually the whole mortgage industry will get to that point where e-closing or remote online is going to be adopted completely across the board. However, you and I both know there are going to be those borrowers that still are going to want to meet face to face. They're still going to want that hand holding and that ability to have everything explained to them. So while it's going to be widely adopted, I think every now and then you might have like 2 to 3% that, they still want to go in the office and they still want to be assured what they're signing is legitimate.
Well, and see, this goes back to the entirety of our conversation today. These settlement agents, they need to be aware of, because you said there are clients. I know some of our past clients, they love to go sit down. Plus, that was a great opportunity to be like face to face. That was some of those were marketing opportunities for me to where I could continue to build that relationship, go and sit down. And some people could argue like, oh, it's such a waste of time and going and sitting down with a client and the settlement agent. The settlement agent, they've got it. But I love seeing those people. You and I were talking about just getting back to face in general. Like with this whole pandemic in this COVID world that we live in, like I think people are like, hey, send me to the settlement agent's office. Let's go hang out for an hour and sign some papers because I just want to see somebody.
I told you I'm jonesing for a plane ride somewhere. I'm ready to go.
Pam's ready to hop on one of those flights that just circles around her, her little community and like, hey, I'm on a plane. I'm good.
There we go. But Josh, to your point, right now the balance is, we're getting there where we're more, say 50% traditional wet signing. We're starting to see that bump up more and more and more. And I think eventually you're going to see it where wet signing is going to be way down and our e-signing is going to be way up and we're going to reverse, but we're getting there. And I think it's, folks like lenders who are looking at this and looking more for more advantageous ways of getting out in the market, better referral sources because the process was so smooth and efficient. I think you'll see them making that push on us as vendors to actually build more, build better.
Well, and see, see, exactly. And that's that collaboration. That's that like, hey, let's see what our vendors are talking about. Let's see what our lenders are talking about. Let's see what's helping them become more efficient. And that's what SimpleNexus is continually so good at, is like the adoption, the adaptation, the evolving of our industry. They continue to see where it's going and they continue to pivot quickly. Now, that's of course with little pivots. We can't all of a sudden just change everything and change the direction of everything. But it is, and seeing like understanding like, okay, you know what? We are at that 50% mark. What is really going to help even the Dana Duffy, his comment here, he just barely hit his company is the first time they're doing an e-close with SimpleNexus. So it's okay. There's still some room for improvement here. There's still some room to work with those lenders. There's still some more room to work with those who are not yet familiar with the process. And you mentioned it perfectly, it's just educating them on the process. I think there are some people out there who just don't even know about it yet.
Well, and you had Shane Westra on your show not too long ago. Shane heads up an incredible team of folks that, they really collaborate. They listen to the lenders. They're listening to customers, settlement agents. So I think with the more interaction we have with folks out there, listening to what their needs are, the more we're going to build to those efficiencies. And I'm extremely ecstatic about that.
Oh, I am too. Building to efficiencies. I think that's one thing our industry can continue to improve on is efficiencies. We talk about fintech. There's a lot of talk about fintech, technology, e-close, this and that, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. And I think the way that we do improve is something that you mentioned. It's that collaboration. It's listening to our partners. It's Shane Westra and his team do a phenomenal job really integrating and listening to what what people are wanting and what really the industry needs. What does the consumer want? This home buying journey that we talk about so often, especially with SimpleNexus, because they continue to create a more efficient, more streamlined home buying journey. It's listening to them on what they want. Like, it's like, okay, what is actually going to help them? Not just like, I love this idea of what you mentioned, Pam, is not just like, oh, that was simple, but educating them through this process. Like letting the home buyer, letting the actual client, like getting them educated of like, okay, these are the things you need to know. You're not just buying. Yes, your ultimate goal is that home ownership. That's what you want, but help them become educated. So the next time around, or if they go look into investment properties or whatever it may be, they are now a more educated buyer when it comes to the market.
And I think that's what we're doing here now as well, too. Not only are we building the products, but we're investing a lot in the education. Last week, we hosted a webinar specifically for settlement agents. We invited the lenders. We invited the settlement agents to come on board. Let's talk about the closing portal. How do you get here? What do you do if it looks like this type of a closing versus, say, a hybrid closing versus a traditional wet sign? And so building the product, training the product, listening, and then reverse, do it all over again. That's how we get better.
That's brilliant. That's reverse engineering and saying, okay, let's bring these people together, the ones who are in the trenches every single day. That's like a mic drop from Pam. She just nailed that. Look at her. She's amazing. She's always sharing those little things. But Pam, you nailed it, because that's what SimpleNexus continues to do. That's why you guys continue to thrive and continue to be the pioneers. I love saying that word with you guys, because you continue to, it's conversations and it's collaborations like that. It's like, hey, let's put on a webinar. Let's hear from the people who are doing these closings. Let's talk to the settlement agents. Let's see what's really helping them. Let's see some of the problems they're up against right now, and let's see how we can solve them together. That's exactly what it's all about. Pam, it is always such a pleasure, such an honor when I had the opportunity to sit down with you and pick your brain when it comes to the future of e-closing, RON, settlement agents. So thank you so much for being willing to take a few minutes out of your day and come share a few of these very valuable insights. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh. I always love being here.
We were saying too, I look forward to seeing you in person soon. Now that we're getting vaccinated, now you're going to be coming back to Salt Lake. We have an idea. I'm going to give you a little teaser, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have a show with the women of SimpleNexus. You know a lot of them. There's so many, from Andrea to Pam to Kathleen to so many of them. There's going to be a show. We're going to do it live all together with these incredible women of SimpleNexus. So stay tuned for that. You're not going to want to miss it. But Pam, again, thank you so much. Huge shout out to our good friends over at SimpleNexus for all that they continue to do for our industry, making it an easier transaction from mobile to everything we do, helping the home buyer with that journey, making it a more simple process. With that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See ya. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you again so much for joining us for today's show. If you like the content, make sure you hit that like button below. And if you already haven't subscribed to our channel, click right over here and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to see our latest video, click over here. And again, if you want to see the best of daily content within the mortgage and real estate industries, you have to subscribe now. We look forward to having you shred with us every single day.